Hi, I'm Bass Fox. Welcome to today's video. This is going to be a deep dive into the MXR Bass Synth pedal. You would think it would be a simple pedal, you know, go through the features. It's only got 8 presets, quick run through and you're done, right? In fact, you've probably already watched like a quick start guide of some kind. Well, guess what? There's so much more to this pedal beyond what meets the eye. In fact, I've even printed out the part of the manual that displays the secondary parameters so that I have easy access to this information. I even laminated my little cheat sheet here because each one of these 6 knobs has 2 secondary functions, right? The 2 buttons on top become shift buttons, and each one gives you access to 6 additional settings that you can adjust on it, and they're not displayed on the panel. So I don't want to take too much of your time. The previous takes were way too long, so I'm going to try to kind of blast through all of these features, and in the meantime I'll be explaining some principles of synthesis and of synthesizers so that you are more informed as to how to use this thing, what it's doing, etc. Right? So the first thing is, as you can hear, my bass is coming out of only one side, right? And that's because I have it plugged in as a stereo output. So we have to adjust the output mode, and that's one of the secondary parameters. There are 3 output modes. One is mono, which is what it is right now. So this is what you would use if this were in a regular pedal board where the next pedal had just a mono input, for example. If you're playing at live venues that are probably mono anyway, that's probably what you'd use. If you're plugging this into a standard bass amplifier, that's probably what you would use. But personally, I really love the stereo chorus that this thing has with the modulation control. Therefore, I will use the stereo output mode. So it's got mono output mode, stereo output mode, and the third mode gives you split between the clean bass sound and the synthesized sound, right? And that's great for recording. For example, if your engineer would like to have a clean version of your bass tone, you can just take a TRS cable here out of the output, maybe an insert cable that splits into 2 separate mono, and then you can... Excuse my dogs, they're annoying. I hope you can't hear them too much. Shh! Hey! Ya! Silencio! Right? So the way you access those output modes is by holding the shape button over here, and it'll act as a shift, and then you can move the mod knob over here. And as you move it all the way to the right, you're now in stereo mode, right? And now we can hear it. Basically, you're hearing it in mono. You're hearing, because we're not using any kind of stereo processing as of yet, right? It just makes us be able to hear my bass sound through both ears. Now, once I turn the pedal on, we start hearing the synthesizer, right? Now, bear in mind, while you can use this pedal as an effects processor, in fact, it's a multi-effects processor. You can use it as a compressor, envelope filter, gate, and chorus if you set the mix all the way to the left, so the synthesizer is off, and you set the dry-through effects feature on, meaning that the dry sound goes through the effects, right? So you can use this thing as an effects processor, but its main feature function is not a processor. It's actually a synthesizer that is controlled by pitch. So your bass is basically providing the synthesizer with the information that is note on, note off. So that's when you make it sound, right? When you ring a note, and then note off when you stop it. And the pitch, the note that you're playing, determines the pitch. So those are 2 sets of information that you're giving the circuit that detects the input and controls the built-in synthesizer. It's a digital synthesizer, and it's an analog subtractive synthesis model, simulating an old school subtractive analog synthesizer. And those synthesizers have 5 basic building blocks that we'll talk about as we go through the different functions and features. The first one is the oscillator, which is what oscillates. So it's like the string in a synthesizer, meaning it's what vibrates and gives you a pitch, right? And it usually has a wave form, right, which is the timbre, the basic timbre that you get out of the synthesizer. Usually synthesizers have 4 waveforms: sine, triangle, sawtooth, and square or pulse. And the sawtooth can be called ramp as well. And this one has 3 of those. It doesn't have the sine wave because the sine wave in this kind of a synth isn't really useful, because the sine wave is just a fundamental, has no upper harmonics, no higher frequency content, and therefore it doesn't sound cool when you filter it. It's boring. You don't want it for this, right? It's useful for other things in an actual synthesizer, and you can tell I'm a synth guy. I have another channel called Synth DIY Guy, actually. This is my modular synthesizer right here, and that has all kinds of oscillators. And well, anyway, we talked about one of the building blocks. That's the oscillator, right? So let's have a look at the oscillator real quick. And first, let's kind of zero all of the features, all of the controls. So basically, we want the cutoff all the way up, right? Because we'll talk about it in a minute, it's the filter. We want the resonance all the way down. And then we're going to start to hear just the pure, and we want the envelope all the way off too, right? So now we're hearing just the oscillator. Right, and it's yellow, the LED is yellow. That means we're listening to the sawtooth wave. It's that little ramp over there. And this is what that sounds like. Right, so that is the sawtooth wave. The other waveform we have on there is the pulse wave or square wave. A square wave is simply a symmetrical pulse wave, meaning that a pulse is just a voltage that goes up and then back down. It just jumps up and down. It doesn't ramp or curve up or down. Some synthesizers have pulse width control, pulse width modulation, or pulse width knob that lets you change the balance between the up pulse and the down pulse, or the on pulse and the off pulse. A square wave is simply a pulse wave where the on and off are equal lengths, equal widths. So the pulse width is symmetrical on a square wave, and that's what we have here with the red LED. Now this is just a plain square wave, no filtering, no envelope, no modulation, no nothing. Now the triangle wave is different from the saw and square. You heard how the saw and square are both very buzzy. They have a lot of upper harmonics. They're very harsh sounding by themselves. That's why you need a filter. We'll get to that. The triangle wave is much less harsh. It's close to a sine wave. It's much more just a fundamental tone and a little bit of upper harmonics. It sounds like this. So that's what the triangle wave sounds like. Now, what does the filter do? The filter, it's an EQ band, and what it does is it cuts the highs, and you can set the cutoff frequency, meaning the frequency at which it starts to cut off all of the high frequencies. So right now, the filter is all the way up, right? Meaning it's not cutting anything at all. And as I turn it, and I'm gonna try to put my hand over here so you can still see it. As I start to close it, you see we start losing those higher frequencies. Now you will hear this much more pronounced if I change it to one of the other waveforms. So here's the saw wave. Right? So this is element 2 of a synthesizer, of a subtractive analog classic type synthesizer. Right? And now we start to really, get that synth sound. You see how important the filter is. So the oscillator and the filter by themselves already give you that classic synthesizer sound. Now, the filter has a second control, which is the resonance. Resonance is a feedback that emphasizes the cutoff frequency, so you can really hear that cutoff sweep. You know, you can really hear it like almost whistle. It gets very squelchy, and it's got three names. You will find synthesizers that say resonance, like this one. You will find synthesizers that call it feedback, because that's what it is. It's a feedback. And you will find synthesizers like the classic Mini Moog, for example, calls it emphasis, because that feedback that generates resonance emphasizes the cutoff frequency. So all three of those words are valid and they mean the same thing. So let's hear now if I bring up that resonance. Now you hear it's much more, right? Much more squelchy sound, like a TB303, for example, you know, like acid bass or acid house music. And I'm just playing that open G string. Let me try the D here. Right, I'm just manually changing that, which is not going to be handy when you're playing the bass with both hands, right? So how do you make that filter sweep without using your hand? Well, there's something called an envelope. An envelope is a module, right? So oscillator is a module, filter is a module. Envelope generator is a module that generates on a synthesizer, on an analog synthesizer, generates a voltage variation over time, right? And that voltage variation can be sent to control the filter, for example, which is what we're going to do in a minute, and the amplitude as well. When you hear the word ADSR, for example, which means attack, decay, sustain, release, well, that's a classic type of a synthesizer envelope generator. This envelope generator is very simple. It's only attack and release. So it generates a signal that goes up and then down. And that can be a fast attack and a slow decay, a fast attack, fast decay, slow attack, slow decay. And you have a single knob to control both the attack and the decay. It just goes through different values for both of them as you sweep through the envelope knob, right? And right now it's all the way down, so it's off. As I turn it up, and I can turn the cutoff down, now we start to hear how it goes, kyung, kyung, right? That's a fast attack, fast release. It's just opening the filter real quick and closing it back down. It's going, whiong, whiong. If I turn the envelope a little bit higher, right now we can hear that filtering more pronounced. And already this is like a classic synth bass sound, right? Right, and I can cut the cutoff more, so it's a little bit darker. Now you notice it doesn't always trigger, the envelope doesn't always trigger. That's because if I play legato, like if I don't give the synth either a really hard attack or a pause between notes, it doesn't re-trigger. It stays down. So like I'm going to play a note and hammer it on. See, it doesn't re-trigger. Now if I play those same two notes separately, the envelope generator re-triggers. And that's the difference between legato or staccato modes, right, on a synthesizer. And Stevie Wonder, for example, used that to great effect with his bass lines using the Tonto modular synthesizer in the late 60s, I think, and early 70s. Right, some notes he would play legato, and some notes he would separate and play staccato and re-trigger. And that was part of the articulation that's so recognizable in those early Stevie Wonder bass lines. Now this is still quite boring though, because most classic synthesizers have more than one oscillator, and here we are only dealing with a single oscillator. So the way the bass synth, the MXR Bass Synth deals with that is with this voice button over here. So there's two things, right? The voice button turns on two extra voices that are higher than the main voice, and one is an octave and the other is a fifth. So if I turn up the filter cutoff over here, right, let's turn that voice off. This is what just the, in fact, let's go to the square wave. I kind of like it better for bass, right? It's a little more hollow sounding. So this is just the square wave, just a fundamental note. When I turn on the voice, see, suddenly you have two more oscillators happening there. There's another way that this synthesizer addresses that. In those classic synthesizers, often the voices, the different oscillators would be slightly out of tune, and that created kind of a chorusy effect, and that's what you get when you turn on the modulation over here. Right, so now it sounds even more like you have other oscillators. I hope you're listening through headphones, by the way, because this is in stereo. This chorus is in stereo. If you're listening through headphones or if you're sitting in front of nice stereo speakers, you will really get the best sound from here. Right, and it has one more thing, which is the Sub Oscillator. So this one is an octave below, right? So now, if I add this, suddenly we have a much more beefy sound, right? And basically we have four oscillators happening at the same time, and the chorus is giving us that little detune that you'd get on a classic synthesizer. So let's turn the cutoff down a little bit. That's huge now, right? Now, remember, this is a synthesizer that you're controlling with your bass. It's not an effect that's altering the sound of your bass. You're not hearing the sound of your bass right now. I mean, you can with the mix, but right now you're not. So that means you have to kind of develop proper technique to interact with this instrument. It's an instrument in itself. It's not just a pedal. So it's normal to at first kind of struggle with how to articulate, and you get the hang of it. You just need to practice and really develop very clean technique. No extraneous notes, no ringing open strings, no ringing harmonics, just, you know, and maybe learn to mute your notes so that you have spaces between them if you want to retrigger that envelope. And it just takes a little bit of practice. I'm improvising right now, so sometimes my ideas are faster than my execution. But if you create specific lines, you can practice them to perfection so that you can always execute them the way they're supposed to be. Already, this sounds really cool. Right? Very cool. Okay, so modulation would be number 4. Really, that mod knob, what it does is it controls the amplitude and speed of an LFO. LFO means low frequency oscillator. That's an oscillator that you don't hear as a pitch because the frequency is low enough that you actually identify it as a rhythm. Right? And right now it's assigned to the chorus effect, right? So to a slight detune in both sides. If I turn that up, you're going to hear a faster oscillation, right? Almost like a vibrato. And that's what that is. That's an LFO affecting micro pitch of the oscillators, generating that chorus. However, you can have that LFO affect the filter as well, right? So right now, we have the knob that controls the filter, we have the envelope generator controlling the filter, and we can have an LFO too. And that is another secondary parameter over here in my cheat sheet, the mod blend control here. So that is a blend between the two destinations of the modulation of the LFO, right? One is the pitch and the other is the filter. So if I hold down the voice button here and turn the mod all the way to the right, hear that? Now the LFO is modulating automatically, rhythmically modulating the filter. And we can make it faster now by just turning that mod knob. And this is great for those dubstep wub wub type sounds like. Nice, right? And you can find a middle ground too between both destinations. So if I hit voice again and I turn that knob, the mod, which now means mod blend, right? When I'm holding the voice button, this is a mod blend. So now we hear both. We're hearing a stereo chorus, right? And we're hearing a filter modulation. The envelope is still acting. You hear that? The initial attack of the filter is a high filter and then goes down. So you're actually blending the LFO control signal with the envelope control signal and the knob, right? I can turn the whole thing up, right? And I can make the envelope a little bit slower. In fact, I can make the envelope, once it crosses 12 o'clock, it becomes a slow attack. Now you hear a sweep up as well. It doesn't just sweep down. It doesn't start high and sweep down. It starts low, sweeps up, and then back down, right? So listen to this. In fact, let's turn the modulation off for this, so you can really hear that envelope acting on the filter, right? If I go even further, see, it sweeps up and then down. Let's turn the resonance up a little bit. So that's nice for those nice long notes. It's funny, it's reading the upper harmonic. Now, if that happens, maybe you need to filter your bass a little bit. It's recognizing the upper octave harmonic as the fundamental. And you can do that by just rolling down the tone on your bass. See, it's no longer jumping up the octave now. So that's something you can do to help condition. Oh, it still does it a little bit. Depends a little bit on where I play it too. Careful though, if you cut off the tone too much and make it too dark, then you might make it difficult for the detector to really identify the pitch. And you can also use a filter on something like the anagram over here. I could change the mode to and replace it with some kind of EQ dynamic filter, the low pass here, right? And then if I put the mix all the way to the left, just the bass here, I can turn that frequency down, and then I can bring the mix back up. Right, but I don't want that right now. I'm going to leave it as it is. Now, did you notice something? Did you notice the clean sound was getting filtered? That's because we had the dry through effects activated. That means the dry sound goes through the effect portion of the bass synth. But before we go look at that, we need to talk about the fifth element. So oscillator, filter, envelope generator, LFO, amplifier, or attenuator. That's the part of the synthesizer that controls the volume, right? And you can control it with the envelope generator as well. So another secondary parameter over here is filter envelope amount. So we can turn that off, for example. So I'm going to hold the voice and turn the cutoff knob all the way down. So now the filter is no longer being affected by the envelope. And now I can turn the amp envelope, right? And this is going to be not only amplitude, but also the attack and decay. You have independent envelope for amplitude. As you should with most synthesizers, you would have an envelope generator for the filter and another one for amplitude. So let's listen to what this sounds like. Let's turn up the cutoff here so that it's a nice audible note. Maybe we don't need the sub mix right now or the voice. Let's keep it simple. Oh, actually, now, something I just realized that I did, I turned the filter envelope amount fully counterclockwise. What that does, it doesn't go to zero, it goes beyond zero into negative, right? So now the envelope is acting negatively on the filter, right? So what we want is to actually put it in the middle. So this cutoff knob in the middle here. Now the filter is just not reacting to the envelope at all, but the amp is, right? The amplifier or the amplitude is. So I'm holding a voice here and turning the envelope knob, and we're going to listen to the the loudness of the note. Hear how it swells up? Right, so that's the amplitude envelope. So, and that's normally called a VCA, is the voltage controlled amplifier, right? On the synthesizer, everything is voltage controlled. And so that's why the oscillator is actually called a VCO, voltage controlled oscillator. Filter is called VCF, voltage controlled filter. Envelope generator is a voltage source. Although some of them can be voltage controlled, this one is not. It's just a controller. So it's not VC, it's just called an envelope generator. The LFO, same thing. Some LFOs and synthesizers can be voltage controlled. This one is just a low frequency oscillator. It's a source of control voltage that you can use to control the VC stuff. Does that make sense? I hope I'm explaining this well enough that it doesn't get confusing for you. But let's bring that back. Amp envelope to 0. And let's give ourselves some filter envelope amount again, all the way up. And bring the envelope to a nice punchy sound there. Now, another thing, number 6, actually, I've mentioned 5 modules here. We have a 6th module, though, which is the noise generator. Most subtractive analog synthesizers have a noise generator, and this one has one as well. And the way to access it is by, again, secondary parameter. You hold down the voice button and turn up the noise mix knob, which is the sub mix. Without shift, this is sub mix, right? Get that nice low sub oscillator there. But if I hold the voice and turn that up, in fact, if I go all the way up and turn up the filter here, we're hearing white noise, right? Which is like that static sound. And this is unpitched sound because it has all of the frequencies all together. That's the definition of white noise. It's actually made with a transistor. Not here, this is digital, but on an analog synthesizer, they just wire up a transistor so it pretty much blows up and behaves erratically and generates random frequencies at breakneck speed, at audio rate, and you hear that as a noise, right? So white noise is very high, pink noise is a little bit lower. You know, if I turn down the resonance, we get a closer idea of what this noise sounds like. And you can filter it and create like ocean turn down the envelope, and we can just create like a polar wind, right? With more resonance, it gets more polar. With less resonance, it's more like the ocean. Like waves or wind in the trees and stuff. So if it's not pitched, what's the point, right? Doesn't matter which note I'm playing on the bass, sounds the same. Well, you can use it as a percussive element at the beginning of your sound. All you have to do is bring that mix back down so you have some noise, right? Turn that envelope back up. So hear that? Now we have this like nice chicky percussive, like a hi-hat attack. Let's do a slow envelope now. Nice, right? That's too much though. I'm gonna bring that mix even lower. So it's just a hint in there. And we can turn the cutoff frequency of the filter down a little more. So now you hear that as a texture. Let's bring up the voice now. Now, I hear those voices too loud. Right, the voice button oscillators, well, you have a voice mix parameter here as well as a secondary parameter. By holding the voice button and turning down the mix control, I can mix in just as much of that top oscillators, of those two top oscillators, as I actually want or need, right? Let's go back to a quicker, snappier envelope here. Nice. So what else do we have? We can have a look at the dry-through effects now, right? So if I bring the mix all the way down, we're now hearing the clean sound of the bass, but it's going through effects, right? So we have the filter here, we can have resonance on it, we can have the chorus, right? We can let's do mod blend all the way left, so it's now the LFO is only affecting the chorus. Now see, the submix isn't doing anything. Because that's part of the submix and the voice do nothing, because those are part of the synthesizer instrument that's inside here. If you don't like that, you can turn that off, and that's use the shape button as the shift now and turn the envelope knob all the way to the left, and now it's off. So now this is just your clean bass sound. And of course you can have a blend of both, right? So here's the bass clean. And you can have the sub there too now. Let's turn that cutoff down a bit. Right? So now you're blending the clean sound of your bass with the synthesizer sound, right? But let's go back to just clean here. And we'll turn the dry-through effect back on, right? And you have a compressor. So hold the shift here and the mix becomes a compressor amount. So you have off all the way to the left and you have limit all the way to the right, right? So now this is so heavily compressed that the volume has gone way down. So for that, you have another secondary parameter, which is the output gain. So you can make up for all of that attenuation by, again, holding the shape and turning up the submix. And now you've made up somewhat, not completely, because we're limiting it way too much and you don't get that much output gain. So you probably want to just dial that compressor back a little bit. Like, how about there? Oh, now it's too loud. So we're going to turn the output gain back down a little bit. Now the resonance, you know, it can get so squelchy that it actually distorts. So we're going to dial back some resonance, bring the cutoff a little bit back up, and get kind of like a middle of the way envelope. Turn the chorus back on, and now this is a multi-effects processor. You have gate as well, and the gate sensitivity you achieve by using the cutoff knob in conjunction with the shape button. So hold shape, and you can make the gate more or less sensitive. So here, it's letting even very soft notes go through. Right? If I hold it and turn it all the way to the other side, it's cutting more. There's not a huge range. It's subtle difference between the different gate sensitivity levels, right? This is part of what helps keep your synth sound clean too. If you have the gate working, it's gonna cut off some of those extra noises that might happen. You know, little harmonic here, a little bit of a open string. And of course, when you use it as a multi-effects like this, it is polyphonic because your bass is polyphonic and you're really just affecting the bass with the effect portion of the pedal rather than generating a monophonic synthesizer voice. So that's an added bonus about this pedal. It's not only a synth bass, but it's also a compressor, a gate, a chorus, an envelope filter. So all these things. Right? Very cool. The tracking control, again, hold shift and turn tracking is just to determine which instrument you want this to be optimized for. So right now, all the way to the left, that's optimized for a 5-string bass with a low B, right? Which I don't have, so I don't want that. I'm going to change it back to 4-string bass, which is the middle position of the resonance knob while holding the shape button. And if you want to use it on guitar, you can. You just turn it up all the way to the right, and that's for a 6-string guitar. So it's higher pitches. In fact, you can plug a microphone in there and control this synthesizer with your own voice, because all it does is convert pitch to synthesizer control information. It's not MIDI, it's not going through the MIDI protocol. It's skipping MIDI altogether and just controlling the synth engine directly. But yeah, it's kind of like a pitch to MIDI. You can think of it like that. So I could plug in a microphone and control the synth portion of this with my voice. And I would probably use the guitar setting for that, right? Because my voice doesn't go down as low as a bass guitar. All right, but we're going to bring this back down to bass tracking, right? Now, one more thing maybe the seventh element here, but it's actually really part of the first, which is the oscillator, right? There's a parameter in many analog modular synthesizer oscillators called glide, or also known as Portamento. And what that is just that, it's glide. It slows down the transition between notes, makes them glide into each other, right? And you have a glide effect here. Let's go back to this being a synthesizer. Now it's super loud. We're going to turn the output gain back down. Maybe we don't need that much sub mix. Turn the frequency cutoff frequency a little bit down. Maybe we'll turn the voice back in now, and we can turn them, have more of that upper voice there with the voice mix parameter, right? And then bring up the volume a little bit more. Right? Almost sounds like a DX7 now. Like a digital synth, which it is, but it's not trying to be FM synthesis, it's trying to be analog synthesis, but with a little bit of noise, with the chorus, setting up the filter and everything, the extra voices, it starts to get a little bit into FM digital synthesis territory. But anyway, let's turn on that glide. So that's, you hold the voice button and turn the resonance up. So now, super cool, right? What's missing is the funnest part of this thing, which is the expression. You can turn your expression pedal into a macro morphing controller, because you can assign all of the parameters to your expression pedal, not just one. Normally you would use it just for the filtering, right? I have it connected to the secondary jack over here. You can use this jack as one of your audio outputs. There's a little dip switch here. If you don't want to use a TRS cable for stereo, you can set this to be dual outputs with two separate jacks. But of course, it's much more fun to just use a stereo cable out of this output here and plug in an expression pedal. Most expression pedals will work. This is my audio M-Audio expression pedal. And let's turn the glide back down. That was fun to check out, but I don't really want it on right now. So everything that we set here is going to be how heel down position will sound on the expression pedal, because that's the position I have it on right now. So let's turn the cutoff down and have a lot of sub mix, right? And let's bring the envelope. Now I'm going to go heel up, and automatically it turned off the voice. I don't want that. And let's see, did it change the oscillator shape? No. Right? I want voice on both heel up and heel down. So what you do on heel up is where you get to, right? So we're going to open the filter more. We're going to open the modulation more. And we're going to turn down the submix, right? So when I go down, I want more submix on heel down. I want that filter a little more closed, right? And now we go. So here how it's opening the filter, but it's also adding modulation, right? And it's cutting the sub, right? So I can go. But I can even change the envelope shape. I can change the oscillator shape too. So let me put heel up here and change the oscillator to green, right, to the triangle. So heel down, you get that saw wave, right? Let's change that to a square, right? But as I go heel all the way up, it now changes to a completely different waveform. And we can have that. Okay, let's turn the output volume down a little bit. Not that much. And the filter cutoff a little higher. On heel up, right? So now I have like this whole bottom part of the expression pedal. Right, then when I go heel up, I have this whole other sound here. So I can actually do like call and response as if I had two keyboards or two presets on the same keyboard. So I can go like. And there's no limit. You can do this with all the parameters, including the secondary parameters, except for output gain. Output gain is global, but yeah, you can, well, drive through effects. Some of these are more utilitarian features, and those are global, right? But you can do it to voice mix, for example. So right now, we can set a voice mix to have that secondary, those higher oscillators really loud. And then if I bring this down, well, the filter is already kind of cutting those off, but still I can turn them way down, right? And then they kind of like get loud when I go heel up. And what's interesting is that when you're going up with the pedal, it stays in the waveform that starts at heel down all the way to the very tippy top, and then it changes when you hit the top position. But then when you go back down, it stays on that waveform, on the top waveform, until you hit heel down position. So that's interesting. Check that out. Right? That's the square wave. And then when I hit the top, it changes to triangle. Now as I go back down, it's still triangle until I hit the very bottom, and then it changes back to the square wave. All right, I forgot one thing. How to save this? Let's say you really love this preset we made throughout this video. Very easy. You can just hold, there's a little button next to the presets here, which is how you cycle through presets. There are other ways to cycle through them as well. You can read in the manual about that. If you just hold that button for a few seconds, the LEDs start blinking. See, one lights up and the other three start blinking. Now you can use the same button to cycle through the 8 preset slots. There are 4 red and 4 green, right? So I'm going to choose the first red one. And now all you have to do is hold that preset button for a few seconds once again, just how you did it at first. And then when it stops blinking, you have saved that preset on that slot. So please don't be afraid to replace all of the factory presets with your own sounds. That's the idea. Make this pedal your own. The presets are nice, they're great. Maybe keep 1 or 2 that you really like, but please create your own, replace them. If you have to, you can easily do a factory reset on this, or even reset individual slots to their original settings. So don't be afraid, experiment, create your own sounds, and find your voice with this pedal. So I think that's it. I think I managed to, on this third take of this video, make it a little bit more direct and hopefully not super long. I don't think this is an hour and 20 minutes like the other takes. Thank you for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share the video, watch my other videos. There's lots of information that's useful. A lot of it is focused on sound design for bass players, which is a important skill nowadays. It's part of who you are as a musician, is not only your choice of notes, your technique, and your instrument sound, but also what you do with it, how you process it, what kind of effects you like to use. And that's a lot of what this channel is about. So let me have a sip of this, put my mask on, do a little solo, and thank you for watching once again, and feel the vibration.
Thank you.